All right, Harold, welcome to the podcast, brother. Thank you for coming by. You know, it's been I've been trying to get you on for a while. You know, I saw you on.
You lying? He ain't been trying to get me on.
I have. How many times have I asked you to be on the podcast? How many times? Check your text messages.
One,
and
then I responded.
It's been a while. See, it's been a while. Like I said, what you gonna give us you? But I saw you on. Is it Sean Larry?
Yeah. A Dreamer's Ambition.
Yeah, I saw you on that one, and you were dropping some bars. I'm like, you know, okay, I got to get him on and expand and see what this guy talking about. So this podcast is about entrepreneurship. It's about helping people create what they want, and you are a true creator. So let's start with how you got into entrepreneurship. Let's go way back, because I know it's happened over the last 5 or 6 years. Let's go way back and and talk to me about that entrepreneurship bug that you got.
Okay. Well, I first caught the bug when I was like in high school, actually. So
really, it's high school? Okay.
Yeah, when I was about 15, I started making my first money online. So my first time doing e-commerce was actually when I was 15.
Okay.
So, and I was into some real BS. Like I was out here, I was hacking people. I knew I would basically like steal people, like, because back in the day,
yeah.
Like, you know, nowadays, like you want to play video games and stuff online or computer games, it's all in the cloud now, so you log in. Yeah. But before, everyone had like CD keys, or you had to like plug in a software key. You know, like if you got Microsoft Office, you had to plug in a CD key. Yeah. So
I used to get legal ones.
Yeah, so that's what I used to do.
Okay.
So I used to basically find a way to take them from other people.
Right.
And then I would sell them on eBay, or at one time I started my own website and I would sell those keys.
You went big.
Yeah.
So you were straight black market.
Straight black market in high school, and didn't really understand anything about business at all. I just knew, okay, if I take them, I can sell them, I can make money.
Right.
That's all I knew. And then from there, what I started doing was I would build websites, and I would take the websites and basically so I would take the website and I would use black market techniques to get traffic to the website. Right. But I would put like Google AdSense on them so that the ads would generate money.
This is in high school?
This is in high school.
Okay.
So I, at one point when I was about probably 15 and a half, I had this one website that generated me about $350 in a month, just off of sending traffic to it and telling people like, hey, if you click the ads, you can get this. So people were going, they were clicking the ads, and at that time, the ads that paid the most money was mesothelioma ads.
Wow.
Like that was like the highest ranking keyword. So I just basically put all the keywords on the site, or all like under the, the SEO and all that for mesothelioma. So that's what ads would pop up. So yeah, that's how I generated $300 that month.
So how'd you learn all this stuff?
Shoot, man, I guess just I've always been into computers, like since I was a kid. Like I remember the first time when I was like 4 years old, my grandma got me a computer, and I always had this thing for like fixing things that were broken.
Right.
So like, they got me this computer, no one could figure out how to make it work, and I don't remember what I did, but I did something and it started working. And then from there, I've just been like hooked on it. So like it was always like, what can I do with the computer? And then from there, it was just spending time online. I played a lot of online video games, and so I would talk to a lot of people online, and they would teach me things. So the way I learned about how to like take CD keys and sell them was one of my friends. I met him online. He was in Long Beach, and I'm from Carson, so I was like, oh shoot, somebody that I kind of know, or in the same area as me, and he did the same thing to buy his first turntables because he wanted to DJ. Yeah. So I was like, dang, he could do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how it started.
You the second hustler to come on the show. I had Nate last week.
Oh,
and we were talking about how he started on the corner with a stove, right? So I was like, okay, so hey, I mean it works. We create it, and that pushes us to other things.
Facts.
So you went from that, and then what was your first, I guess, legit entrepreneur venture?
First legit. Okay, legit as in terms of like me actually like starting a business, setting it up and whatnot.
In terms of you probably not going to jail.
Oh, okay. So I used to sell clothes.
Okay.
Like I would buy like shoes and flip them.
That's right.
I was literally like that dude selling stuff out of my trunk because there was a point in my life when I turned like 18, like I was dang near homeless. Like I was living on people like couches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Shoot, Davis here, he knows. I was living with his family.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a point where I would just find stuff, buy it, sell it for more type deal. Buy it for $1, sell it for $2.
Right.
And then my first actual business was after, you know, I ended up going back to work because I didn't really understand I didn't understand business. Yeah. So my thing was just like, I don't know how to scale any of this.
You just hustled.
Yeah, I just hustled. I was surviving.
Yeah.
So when it got to the place where I realized that I needed to actually like build in order to like live and take care of my family, that was like 10 years later. So from like 18 to maybe like 8 years later when I'm having my first daughter.
Right.
And so I'm back, I've been back to 9 to 5 work.
Yeah.
At that point I realized like, oh, okay, like if I actually want to be able to really like take care of my family and take them where I want to go and not go to college, like I either need to get a sales job or I need to start my own business.
Right.
And so
let's back up a little bit, and I'm going to touch on the homeless part because I think people underestimate like what entrepreneurs go through to get to where they are. I mean, even me, I was homeless, right? So I used to take my kids to school and actually go to a parking lot and park there all day and just like work on my goals, work on my dreams, and no one sees that unless that story is being told. But what it being homeless. Well, first of all, how did you get to a point where you were homeless, and then how did that push you to want to start your business?
So first I want to preface it by saying that I wouldn't call it like I was like homeless because it's like I don't want to do a disservice to the people that were there to try and support me. Right. But basically, so when I was, I got to back up just even a little bit more than that. So when I was 2 years old, my dad got jumped. He was put in a coma.
Okay.
He was in a gang, got jumped by a rival gang. He was in a coma for about a month. You know, had to figure out how to walk again, stuff like that after he got out. So I actually ended up going to live with my grandmother like super early around that time. And so she raised me when we lived in Carson. She moved me out to Merino Valley. We were in Merino Valley. It was just me and her and my uncle and my aunt. My aunt was in and out of the house. She eventually moved out, so then it was me, my grandma, and my uncle. My grandma passed away when I was 17. So when I was in high school, she passed away. Okay. And then from there, it was just me, my uncle, and my aunt. Yeah. Okay. So from there, I went to go move with close friends and family. I probably could have moved with my dad. Yeah. But there was just like, I don't know what it was back then. I couldn't even answer the question, to be honest. Like, I don't know why. So yeah, from there it was like, I kind of was in this place where one, I didn't really want any help from anybody because I was so lost and I didn't know what was, I dropped out of high school. So I was kind of always in this place where it was just like, I'm on my own type deal. Yeah. So from there it was like, I had friends I stayed with. Yeah. Eventually my friend's dad kicked me out because he was like, you know, you're not really doing anything. Yeah. So I went to go live with my aunt in Vegas, who I didn't really know very, we knew each other, but I didn't really know her that well.
This is high school, right? It's high school.
This is right after high school. Okay. So I just dropped out maybe 6 months after dropping out. Okay. So I go stay there with my aunt.
What grade was that?
Well, I was basically a senior.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It was just, I was going to continuation school and I was like, this isn't going to work out. I'm not going to finish. Yeah. So go to stay with my aunt in Vegas. I stayed there for 3 months. I basically get homesick. You know, I found 2 jobs out there. I was doing my thing or whatever, but then it was like, I didn't want to be out there anymore. Yeah. So came back to California with really no plan at all. And from there, I went to go stay back with my uncle who I was living with. So, my bad, let me go back just a little bit. When I was living with my grandma, when she passed away, my uncle, who rest in peace as well, he just died in 2012. Wow. So he lost the house because he was going through his own struggles. He just lost his mom, whatever. So we ended up losing the house. So that was that was where everything started. Where his thing was well, you got to find a place to live.
It got real.
Yeah, it got real. Yeah. So and I don't blame him because at that time, I was running away from everything.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much how it all happened.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was just complete instability for about a good 6 years. 6 years of staying at someone's house,
Right.
leaving, you know, sleeping on friends' couches. Like, you know, there's my mom too, who wasn't really in the picture at all.
Yeah.
And for like about 3-4 years, pretty much through all of high school, I didn't know where she was at. So, like, I had no idea. We couldn't get a hold of her. I heard she was homeless at the time, so I didn't know where she was at. And eventually, we ended up getting reconnected. And so I would end up going to her house without her even knowing my situation,
Right.
but just so I could have a place to sleep out in LA.
So how did you manage all that? I mean, your grandma died, your pop's not around, your mom is not around. It's like, how did you manage that at such a young age? Like, what was going through your head?
I was in denial about everything,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
even my dad not being there, I was in denial about. I didn't realize any of the pain I had until I was getting married, and I went to premarital counseling.
Wow.
And that was the first time I realized, like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
because I was getting mad about things I didn't understand why. I'd be angry about things that my wife did, and I had no idea why.
Yeah.
And then through premarital counseling, helped discover, and I started getting awareness of, like, oh, it's because
Yeah.
my dad, or
Yeah.
because of this, or whatever. But all the way up until I was like 23, I didn't think I had any issues with my dad.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was.
Same here. Is that I think society tells us that really only women have daddy issues, right? But us guys have them too, right? A big time. And I didn't know I had daddy issues either, because I was so afraid of people leaving me and like loss. And through counseling, I figured out I had a fear of abandonment, right? Because my dad abandoned me at a young age. And when you grow to know where those fears come from, it like helps you, I guess, get better and like navigate through life. But just me sitting back and looking back, it's like, well, you know what? I'm glad you wasn't there, because you're fucked up. And like, if you would have stayed with me, I'll be fucked up too.
Right.
So it's kind of a blessing, but then you still want that, in a sense. I know I did, right? Want that father figure there. And it all came out and I revealed, right?
Yeah,
because that was really, really intense for me, right? Because I all this crap came up and I knew exactly where it came from, but I think it helped shape me, and also helped shape you into the person you are today. So you get married, you find out like where stuff is now. At this time you're working, right? So you're working at this time.
Yeah.
And then you still have the entrepreneurial bug in you, right?
Yeah. And to speak to what you just said, like, you know, when my dad was around until I was like 7.
Okay.
So, but I mean, even then, he wasn't really like living with me.
Yeah.
But he would be around, and I remember being happy to see him.
Yeah.
And I remember the moment that like I no longer like cared, like the moment that he left.
Care
And so
about what?
About just seeing him.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I wasn't happy anymore with him.
Yeah.
And that was when I was 7.
Yeah.
So when I was 7, he went to go live with another woman around, like, probably about a mile away from our house.
Right. Yeah.
And she had a family. And so at that moment, I remember like completely losing, like, well, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But in reflection, like, I can see that I completely lost confidence in myself.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, to the point where, like, there was a point in my life where, like, I would get in fights with anybody. Like, I didn't care. Like, if you mess with me, not even just because, but like, if you mess with me, I'm gonna protect myself.
Right.
There was a point where I stopped defending myself.
Oh, even in the fights.
And even in fights,
Wow.
like after my dad like left, like I just, well, not if someone just came up and punched me in the face, like, but you know, like,
got you.
to the point where I just felt fear.
Yeah.
Like, because I didn't feel like anyone was gonna have my back.
Wow.
If I ever needed it.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize this at all while I was going through it. For some reason, I was just like, why am I so scared? And I would make excuses for why. I would come up with reasons. But I only bring that up because, like, between 18 or 17 and, you know, making a little bit of money online and seeing that this stuff works, and me going to premarital counseling, I never thought about entrepreneurship again.
Really?
Yeah, I had already caught the bug. I had already made money
Right.
online. I knew that this worked, but I never considered that I could do it myself.
Wow.
And I'm literally making the connection right now as we're talking because, so what ended up happening was, I mean, I would call myself sort of an entrepreneur, like in a sense, like so right before, in 2010, because I got married in 2013. So in 2010, I ended up getting a job doing telecommunications. So I did like kind of as like a subcontractor, basically side jobs, all kinds of stuff, a lot of flexibility, job that I had never done before. I literally quit Walmart, like just woke up one morning and was like, I'm out of here. Like,
I used to work at Walmart.
Yeah, I used to work, bro, I've worked everywhere. I've worked at least 20 jobs. So yeah, I used to work at Walmart, and then one morning I just woke up and I was like, I'm not going here anymore. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much how I quit all my jobs. So
right.
I was like, I'm not going here anymore. And so I ended up kind of catching, like, I was hustling again.
Yeah.
Started hustling again, and then when I was about to get married, or when I was about to get married, I was like, oh shoot, like I need to get a job that actually gives me insurance, like so I could take care of my family.
Right.
So then I went and I was like, well, what do? I know computers, so I got a job at a web hosting company. Yeah. So that was my first 9-to-5. My first real 9-to-5 job. So after around that same time, I'm going through premarital counseling. I have this job. I'm discovering things about my dad and how I feel about him and how I feel about my mom.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm doing customer service, technical support at these jobs.
Right.
So I'm talking to people that are telling me about how much money they paid for websites.
Right.
And I'm seeing how bad they look.
Right.
And in that moment, I was like, oh shoot, this is how much money I can get paid doing this?
Right.
Like, these guys are over here getting robbed. I could do the same thing.
Right.
In that moment, it was like, okay, the bug just like, I started down the trail again. So.
Yeah. So it's really crazy how, like, we think we're adults, we get to a point where we're over certain things, but even as an adult, you still had crap with your father, with your mother that you had to get out. But it's like a never-ending discovery, right? It's like
still have it.
Yeah, still have it. Like the constant work. But the thing is that you're doing the work, right? It's like every day you're doing the work because you can easily get sucked back into that trap, right? And then it can suck your family back into that trap. So when you realize that you had some issues with your father and maybe your mother, how did that shape you as a father now, being the fact that they wasn't there? How did that shape you as a father right now?
Man, that's a rough one. First, I'd say it screwed me up. Like, I look at how I raised my first daughter, and I'm just like, I was so scared.
Yeah.
Like, I was defensive about how I raised her. Yeah. Like, I was having this conversation with one of my boys, like, about a month ago. Like, my biggest fear was, like, you know, because I look back at my dad and him raising me, and, like, you want to believe that your parents just absolutely love you.
Right.
Because you feel, like, the love for your kids now.
Right.
So the question that would come in my head was, like, what happened to my dad? Like, what was the moment where he was just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore? And so it made my question that I kept asking myself was, like, is this something that could happen to me? Like,
what? Just like wanting to, like, walk away?
Just wanting to just walk away. Yeah. Like, am I invulnerable to this?
Wow.
And
that's a real fear.
Real fear.
That's
like,
real fear,
am I invulnerable to just being like, fuck this, and, like, bouncing?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't think I struggle with that anymore.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But, like, yeah, for, like, a good, probably because my daughter's, like, getting older and older, and I'm seeing, like, okay, like, it's, you know, I'm committed to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like, that was a huge fear for me. So that shaped me in a way.
Yeah.
But from now, it's kind of like, I'm learning. Yeah. Like, I can't even say, like, I'm still learning as I go through it. Like, I'm learning, like, where I may be doing things the same way as because I didn't have one dad. I didn't have one mom.
Okay.
In a sense. Like, I had my grandmother.
Yeah.
I lived in the house with all of my grandma's kids.
Okay.
So my uncle raised me, my aunt raised me.
You had a village.
My grandma's brother raised me. Yeah, it was a true village, like which I think shaped to where I'm at now too. Like I lived in a house with a doctor. So like I feel like there's things that I'm like learning that I'll do and I try to teach my kids out of what they taught me. Yeah. And then I'll be like, wait a minute, that's not the right way to handle that situation. Like I could, like, why am I saying this to them? Yeah. Is it because that's how I was taught? Yeah. But then I'll have to sit and think about how like a lot of those things are just bullshit. Yeah. So
most of it is.
Yeah.
Right. And it makes me think because when the same thing, it's like, well, I have a point where I'm like, just screw this and done. I think every parent gets to that point where like, you know what, this is too much. I just want to run. But of course we don't. But some do. Yeah. But then I think about how could someone genuinely not want to be involved in this, right? In this love and this connection. And with me, it's a bit different because my dad was a crackhead, right? So it was like the drugs took so much over him that he couldn't really think, he couldn't really comprehend and I think for himself. But at the same time, everybody makes their choice, right? And as a young kid, not being chosen affects you as an adult.
Yeah, you don't understand why he's making that decision.
You don't understand, right? Yeah. But then you go through the work and figure, this is why, and then you can get to a point where you can walk in forgiveness and and have it really improve your life. Yeah, right? Yeah. So I'm a big advocate for I like love fatherhood, right? I think it's so important. But it just shapes us and shapes you and it just shapes our kids. So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. So let's get back to the money. we went off. So you got a job. You're doing IT work, and you were kind of forced into entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So first, I'm at this web hosting company. Yeah. And like I said, I didn't have confidence for entrepreneurship. Yeah. So my thing, I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to climb the corporate ladder, whatever, right? So, and I've never had a problem with that. So first job, I kill it at, get promoted, and now I'm like, well, this place really isn't no growth here. So I find this place that's kind of like the Facebook of web hosting. So I end up going to go work there, get a job there, getting paid well, get promoted. And around that time, I actually started I found a course. Okay. So, because I'm starting to build, like I said, my whole thing was like, well, I'm seeing these people build websites. I can build websites. Right. I can figure that out at least. So, I've never been a great designer. So I've never been great at designing websites. Yeah. So my thing was I got to figure this out. So I ended up seeing a course ad on Facebook. It's for the 10K proposal or something like that. Like how to land a $10,000 web design client or whatever by this dude named Troy Dean. So I signed up for the course. And at that point it was like $900 or something like that, which I didn't have for sure. Right. And my daughter's about to be born. My wife's pregnant. My daughter's going to be born in about 7 months. 7 months out from her due date. I do not make enough money right now. Right. So I signed up for this course and go through it and whatnot. And in the course, I learned nothing new about how to design websites. But what I did learn was I learned how to sell. Right. I learned how to position myself. I learned how to I learned about pre-framing and things like that, and how to get the right prospects so that you can land the right clients. Right. Because that's the whole thing about getting the 10K proposal. You need the right clients. Right. Right prospects. So from there, I end up getting another job at another web design company because I'm in the right now. The way I'm looking at it, I'm in this balance right now. Yeah. Corporate ladder, go to school. I go back to school. Before I didn't even mention I went to school for 9 years. So community college, didn't finish classes here and there.
Only 2 years.
Huh?
Only 2 years.
Well, I was there for 9 years of community college. I'm probably I always tell people I'm probably 3 classes away from 3 associate degrees. Yeah, still. Right. So I was in this place of I'm going back to school. trying to become a programmer because I'm thinking I need to learn how to design better.
Yeah.
And then like I said, my daughter's about to be born, and so I'm like, I need a better job because I need to make more money.
Yeah.
So my boy hooks me up with another web design company, and this company's more a web hosting company, and this is more an enterprise company. So they do hosting for like Disney and Warner Bros. And stuff like that. So I get that job, and I remember 2 weeks in, I call my boy on the phone that got me the job, and I'm at school at the time, and I was like, bro, like I don't know if like I don't know what it is, but I don't feel like this thing is for me. I'm doing the same exact job I was doing at the last job.
Yeah.
More money. I work completely from home now.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unlimited vacation time. Like I got the benefits.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, bro, I don't feel like, I'm not sure if I could do this. 2 weeks in. I ended up staying there for 2 years. But at the time, I'm building.
Yeah.
So like I go on paternity leave because I get the job about 2 months before my first daughter's born, Naomi. So as soon as she's born, I go on paternity leave. And I swear to you, while I was like at the hospital, I think I landed like 3 clients or something like that.
Wow.
Like 3 clients, sign proposals, send payment and note, before this, I would send out proposals for like $300 projects, and I wouldn't even land those.
Really? Wow. Okay.
So then after taking this course and going through all that and the content and whatnot and just getting better at it, then I started landing like $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 projects.
Right.
So I make like 5 or 10K while I'm like literally at the hospital.
Yeah.
So, but I still got this job.
Right.
Because like I said, I was just under confidence still. So, I stick at the job, but I'm still trying to figure things out. So I'm doing websites, blah, blah, blah. I do that probably until so that's 2016. This is summer of 2016. I do that until January of 2017.
Okay.
So about 7 months in. 7 months in, still got the job. I start doing, I get into drop shipping, so e-commerce.
Remember that.
Yep.
Yep.
Jonathan's doing his thing. I hear about the numbers he did, so I'm like, yo, I want to.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I want to do it. I've done e-commerce before.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how to do it. So, and I'm hearing about this dude, doing what, 100K in like, a week or something like that. So then I'm seeing that he has like, I see it. Somebody sends me his website.
Yeah.
And Kevin Williams sends me his website. So I'm looking at his website and I'm like, oh shoot. And on the websites where it has a little notification thing that pops up that like, this person just bought. This person just bought. I'm thinking that's real.
It is real, bro.
I know, right?
Cameras on.
So I'm thinking like, yo, like, dang, this dude's getting a sale every second.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I gotta get in this.
Yeah.
So
the pop-ups made you get into it. That's funny.
Yeah. So like, I'm hearing like people like, I'm piecing things together. Like Kevin was like, oh yeah, like they got Oberlo's, one of the softwares, and like, Shopify. And then they run Facebook ads. So like I'm like, okay, cool. Facebook ads, Shopify, Oberlo, Kevin Williams.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Because I guess Jonathan talked to him about it. I had not talked to Jonathan at all yet.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking like, oh, okay, cool. So January comes around, and I'm just still in the process of thinking about it and like maybe doing a little research. I still have not talked to Jonathan at all. I don't know why I didn't. I don't know what was going on then. So January comes around, and we're at a staff meeting for church, and I think I walk in before the meeting starts, and I see Kevin Anderson on his laptop. And I've never seen Kevin Anderson on a laptop before. And he's on his laptop, I'm standing over him, and I see Oberlo and Shopify. And I was like, you building an e-commerce store right now? And he was like, yeah. I was like, and so like, I was like, oh, okay. And I asked him a few questions or whatever. And he was like, yeah, bro, I'm trying to get to it. I'm like, and he hadn't launched yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, shoot. So after the meeting, I can't stop thinking about it. After the meeting ends around like 7 o'clock or something, 8 o'clock. I go home, I go straight to my computer. And I had my first e-commerce store and Facebook ad launched by like midnight.
Wow. And you went on to do some badass numbers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a struggle at first, but yeah, I ended up doing so I started in January, and by April, I think I had generated like 60K or something like that. Yeah. So
all online.
All online.
Yeah.
I remember my very first sale. I got my first sale probably like 2 weeks in. My very first ad did nothing.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah. I tried to sell it was around the time where I think the hands-free law came out, where like you couldn't you couldn't even get caught with a phone in your hand or whatever, something like that. So the thing people were selling were the little the phone, like the magnetic phone clips or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. So
I tried marketing that, didn't work. And then my very first sale was a cat purse, and the sale was from France.
You've been worldwide quick.
Yeah, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I had no course, nothing. I literally was just like, YouTube videos, let me try and figure something out.
Oh, so this is all done before you even connected with Jonathan?
I still hadn't talked to Jonathan.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't talk to Jonathan until I had generated like 300. I was doing like $300 a day or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. I had talked to Matt Hagberg before.
Yeah.
Because I heard he started doing big numbers. So then me and Kevin went to meet with him one day. Okay. So that's why mentorship is important.
Yeah.
Meant to meet with him, and he kind of showed us how to break down the numbers.
Yeah.
But like I said, this is all still like I didn't know what John Mack was or anything. Like,
wow. See, I know that. I thought you went right to Jonathan, and like you were just like there.
Nah, I think Jonathan was like hiding from me or something. Like he wasn't showing me nothing then.
That's what he does. He hides. My microphone.
Yeah. Is this going to be in the podcast too, right here? We should just keep it all.
Just go no edit on. All right, Mike's back. What was I saying?
I didn't go to Jonathan.
Yeah, you go to Jonathan, but you say you're making like $30 a day first, and then
something like that,
you go to Jonathan. But even in that time, so once you hit the numbers, you're doing like 60K. You're still working.
Yeah.
Right. So you were still a little bit of fear. So like, why'd you actually stay when you saw? Because I'm sure you made that 60K was faster than you made it in your 9 to 5, right? So why'd you stay?
Scared, bro.
Scared.
Like I didn't. Well, all right. I'll say this. So there was a moment where all right, I made about 100,000 almost before my ad account got banned. So my ad account got banned on Facebook, and then at that point I was like, shoot, I don't even know how to deal with this or whatever. I got it back up, and I struggled for a while.
Yeah.
Like my ads were struggling, my e-commerce store was struggling, and all that. I was still selling websites to people, but like in my mind, I was like, I can't give up these benefits.
Right.
Like that was what was going on in my mind at least. But I would keep telling myself like, nah, if I didn't have this job, I could spend all my time on this and I could make it work and all that.
Right.
But it was just like I didn't know how to just make it like where it was solid.
Yeah.
And I was scared. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't understand fully.
What made you quit?
So I didn't quit. I got fired. Well, here's what happened. So when this is probably like a year. Okay, so a year later. That's 2017. April 2017 is when I was generating. I was doing about 30,000 a month in e-commerce, probably like 10K profit. And then like I said, like ad account got disabled, whatever. Pretty much it was like a wash after that for the most part. A year later, fast forward, now it's April of 2018, and I still am at the job. My wife is like 8 months pregnant with my second daughter. So now I'm like, all right, I got this job. This job's ready to fire me at this point. Like,
So you knew already?
Oh, I knew. I'm surprised it took that long. Like, because they did not, like, I'd have coaching calls with them, like, hey, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I would be at, oh, you know, like, I just need some time off. Like, I'm going through stuff. Like, so I took, like, there was one point where I took, like, 2 weeks off. Wow. Because I had unlimited vacation time, too. But if it hurt the team, they're going to be mad at me.
Right.
So, I tell them that, all that, blah, blah, blah. And then my thing, I'm thinking, like, all right, cool, here's what I'm going to do. Because I got next baby coming up. So I'm going to take this maternity leave and I'm going to build. Or paternity leave, sorry. I'm going to take this paternity leave. I got like 2 months of paternity leave at this job. Wow. So I'm like, I'm about to take this 2 months paternity leave and I'm going to get my stuff back in order and I'm going to bounce. Like, that's going to be it. So
you thought, huh?
Yeah, so I thought. Now, at the time, you know, my brother, Draco the Ruler, rest in peace, he's in court right now because he caught them the conspiracy charge and all of that. So I go, and this is like around the time where like he had just got arrested. So at the time I'm like, oh, okay, I need to I hear about what the charges are for. Yeah. So I'm like, I really need to go just to like be there to support. So I literally that same morning, I tell him like, hey, I can't come to work today or whatever. Or I'm gonna be late because I need to go to court. So I drive down to Compton from Corona to go there in the morning, and while I'm there, I pick up my mom from the court and I take her back home. She lives like not far from Inglewood at the time, so I go take her over there.
Love Inglewood.
Yeah, you're from Inglewood.
Love Inglewood.
So I go take her back home, and on the way home, she's telling me about like how, you know, she was like, Daryl's not gonna, you know, this really screwed me, like, and she's talking about how they even took her to jail for like 3 days. Like they raided the house, they took her to jail, They took my sister to jail, and she ended up losing her job. Wow. Because my mom worked for she worked for LA County School District. Wow. So she ended up losing her job, and while I'm taking her back, actually I'm not taking her home, I'm taking her to church, and she's telling me she's gonna go pray. And so I go take her, and she's telling me about how like, yeah, you know, I lost my job. He normally is helping me with my rent, and now he's not able to help me with my rent and things like that. And so after I drop her off, I start heading home, and I tell them how, like, you know, I'll tell my job I'm on the way back or whatever, I'll be there soon. And on the way home, I start thinking to myself, and I'm like, yo, like, I really want to be able to help, but like, there's no way I'm going to be able to help to the level I want to while I'm working at this job where I only get paid this X amount of dollars, and I'm barely even making it with that. And so I go home, same night, I tell my wife, I'm like, I think I'm gonna quit. Like, I'm gonna put my 2 weeks in. And so the very next morning, they bring me in on a Zoom call, and they fire me.
It's what you wanted, right? It's what you created. So, but from what I see now, I mean, I'm sure you probably see it too. Is like that was like kind of like a blessing. I mean, I know at the time it may not have seemed that way, but then you talk about screw your benefits, right? Because I mean, you can go out there and create what you want. So you had your thing in e-com, you made money, you helped people, you built systems, but you made a shift, right? You made a shift, and talk to me about that shift from e-com to where you went and then where you are now, building something that's truly freaking like massive.
Yeah. So all right, so we'll go from e-commerce to all right, so for that I got to give a little bit of context.
Do it.
All right, so 2018, lose my job. 2018 till pretty much all through 2019 was like the worst times of my life. Yeah. So I made a lot of stupid decisions out of fear. Yeah. So in 2018, all right, had my second baby, and I'm trying to figure out like how am I going to make money. So, shoot, I remember I called you, I called Jonathan, I called Kevin Will, I called everybody like, yo, like, I got fired. I got to figure this out.
Figure it out.
So, Jonathan sends me this course on, like, how to find, like, just, like, local clients to, like, help do agency work for or whatever. That didn't work. And then eventually he shows us the script, the closing script. Yep. So, and I'm like, all right, I know how to do e-commerce, so let me go ahead and, you know, maybe I could teach people e-commerce or whatever, right? I know how to do it. I just don't have the resources on me right now. So I go ahead and I create a course. I don't even create the course. I just like literally start selling. I just start posting about it, blah, blah, blah. Hop on the phone, get people to schedule a call, hop on the phone, close them over the phone. You helped me a lot at that point, I remember. And there was a point where I made like, well, first I had spent everything. I spent all my 401k money. It was only $5,000. I withdrew my 401k. I spent all that. And at that, I think right after that, maybe like a month and a half after I got fired, I made like $12K in a week just closing people.
I remember that.
So I was like, okay, this is legit. Then from there, it was kind of on and off with that, you know, not fully sustainable. And then in 2019, I end up partnering up with AJ on some projects.
That's right, AJ.
Yeah. So he had some guys over there, and I got connected with a guy over in the Midwest, and they're doing, you know, projects for hunters and stuff like that. So all of 2019, I'm pretty much over. I went to Kentucky, I went to Indiana, I went to Orlando, like a bunch of different places, like all throughout the Midwest and whatnot, and doing just projects for these different companies. Some of them pretty big companies. So I got a lot of experience in the retail space there. And at the time, like I said, I wasn't making a lot of money. So like I was barely surviving. That was the first time I actually called. Like I called my grandpa because I was about to ask for money for rent.
Really?
But it was funny when I called him. I was like, hey, what's up, Granddad? How you doing? He was like, good. I was like, that's good. He's like, how are you? I was like, you know, just struggle out here. And he was like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Me too. I'm struggling just like you are.
Well, there was that.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, all right, well, cool. It's good seeing, good talking to you.
He can't help.
Yeah, exactly. But God really came through, man. Like every moment where it was like one of those moments, he just like, it would be like because I remember asking you, I'd be like, hey man, when a 3-day notice comes, at what point do they actually like evict me?
Believe me, I knew all about that.
Yeah, you would be like, hey man, look, it's probably gonna be like 3 days, then they got like 15 days before they could actually like, you know, file litigate you or whatever. And I was like, okay, well,
just make sure you respond.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't, you're done.
Yeah. Well, that moment, the day I called him, it was like the day before they were going to give me the 3-day notice. Or I think they gave me the 3-day notice. No. It was the day before they were going to give it to me. They didn't give me a 3-day notice for like 9 days.
Wow.
That week. So I was like,
wow.
Okay. God came through. And then the money ended up coming through eventually. But anyways, at that moment, in that year, I really learned the value of partnerships all through 2019. So I had the thing going with AJ. 2019, I partnered, and I did all this without money because I didn't have money at the time. So I partnered with Kevin on an Airbnb project. I raised money for another Airbnb project. I partnered with, I did the restaurant project, so Shootz, which we'll talk about right now. I had one other partnership. I can't remember what it was.
Wasn't it with Mark and Jay? Or was that after?
Nah, that one came after.
Okay, afterwards. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Me and Kevin partnered on the e-commerce subscription business, so BPO Ventures. So all of this happened in 2019. So that was March of 2019 was BPO Ventures.
Ryan too.
That one came in 2020.
Okay.
But all of this stemmed from that. So me and Kevin partnered on an e-commerce project. He's working on his store. He's trying to figure some things out. I come alongside and was like, yo, I think we could do this with it. And that was the subscription model. So that's 2019, June 2019. And then in March 2019, me and my 3 partners get together and we start Shootz.
Yeah.
So, and the way even that started too was, shoot, man, that goes back to 2018.
Right.
Literally while I'm going through the thick of it in
Right.
April, like around the same time on my job, me and Sandra go eat at this restaurant.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, it's just like a wine spot, and I'm like, this mess is whack.
Yeah.
So I text my partner, Christian, who at the time is working.
Yeah.
And I text him, and I'm like,
You gonna find a text?
bro, I literally want to pull it because I literally just read this recently. Like, this mess is hilarious. All right, so this is April 20th. This is, matter of fact,
What year?
2018.
Okay.
I've already been fired. This is 5 days after I got fired. So I'm at this restaurant with my wife, and I text him. I say, you ever think about starting a restaurant? And he was like, not extensively, but yeah. And I was like, what's stopping you from thinking more about it? He was like, I guess it would be laziness. In a sense, there's a lot to think about, and I never know where to start, so I kind of push it aside. Wow. And I said, unfiltered, right?
Yeah, unfiltered, yeah.
All right, cool. I say, man, let's do that shit. I know damn well you ain't trying to work for the rest of your life cooking for other niggas. Let's start planning. And he doesn't respond.
Okay.
Right? So it's April 20th, 2018. So he doesn't respond. And then, like, I think I would say October 2018, then my partner Mike comes around. Uh-huh. So at the time, me and Mike only knew each other from playing basketball at the park. That was it.
Wow.
And then he knew, like, he worked with Christian, but I never really, like, talked to Mike. So we joined this basketball league. This is, like I said, October 2018. We joined this basketball league. And then Mike, they all come and pick me up in my apartment in Corona.
Okay.
So this is September of 2018. Comes and picks me up in my apartment in Corona, and we start driving over to OC to go play this game. And while we're there, in the car, we start talking, and he's telling me about how he's starting his own restaurant, Mad Bun, which is in Chino. So, and I'm telling him about, like, what I do with e-commerce and whatnot, even though I was struggling at the time. So we're talking, and he's like, we just start connecting. We just start talking about books and all types of stuff, whatever. And so the very next week, we end up having we have coffee. So we're just chatting, whatever, talking about business, whatnot. Then I want to say maybe a week later, and it's funny because I have another text right here with my phone to Christian a few months later where I'm like, hey bro, I'm about to go to Grapal to have a drink with Mike. You should come through. He said he couldn't make it.
Right.
So at that point, Mike is getting Christian and Nolan to come work with him
At Mad Bun.
Right. Christian at first wasn't trying to do it because Christian was working at Taps. He was like, I'm about to be employee of the year over here or something, which he was. He gets like employee of the year or whatever at Taps, but didn't want to go work there. And I'm like, bro, you need to go work with him so you can learn like what it's like, starting a restaurant, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So they go do that. And then so that's Christian and Nolan. So that's my 4 partners right there. And then I want to say early 2019, so a few months later, Mike hits me up. It was like, yo, basically, we got this. We're talking about this restaurant concept now. I want you to be a part. So we ended up going to a meeting at Grapal, and that was where we came up with the concept Shootz at a bar.
Okay. So I want to kind of like set the stage. So right now, this is 2019?
This is 2019, February, March 2019.
Okay. So 2022 now, we're in September. You've built a multi-million-dollar restaurant business, right? From doing doing pop-ups, right? You're doing pop-ups, and now what was that? Was that 3-4 years later? Is it that
3 years
later? 3 years later?
3.5.
You're at a multi-million-dollar restaurant, right? This doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
So, first of all, do you know how it happened? And if you do know how it happened, let me know, right? It's because I may want some of my own restaurant.
Well, so we actually became a multi-million-dollar restaurant in the first year.
The first.
Yeah. So we opened. So 2019, we filed the LLC and all that, and like you said, we do pop-ups. 2020, we opened up our first location September. So during COVID.
Yeah.
So September 23rd, and then so we opened the first location then, and by the end of basically from September to September, I think we did like 1.8 million or something in sales.
Your first year.
First year.
Crazy.
Yeah, like 1.9 for all of 2020 or something like that. I mean 2021. I don't even know if I should share that. So anyways, you might have to blurt that out like beep beep. Nah, so anyway, so we open up 3 locations. So we have 3 locations now.
Wow.
How we did it or how it happened.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a lot that goes. I think there's a lot of variables that go into it.
Yeah.
Like, I think for the most part, like having a good team was the most important part.
Yeah.
So like, you know, like the idea of Hawaiian food was actually like Christian's like culinary school concept.
Okay.
You know, Mike really came together and like helped the concept, like as far as the menu. Same with Nolan as well, like just coming through and like making the concept what it was.
Yeah.
And then my side of things was really like, at first, the crazy thing is, first I wasn't really trying to come in this thing as like, neither was Mike, as like, let's be like partners on this and like really make this thing work. We were thinking like, yo, this is going to be like this is Nolan and Kristen's baby, you know? And I obviously knew marketing, but I didn't know anything about marketing a restaurant.
Right.
But the technology and marketing side of things really like helped a lot when it came down to like COVID and everything that was going on. So like loyalty programs and like getting data and all of that. So that was a huge part, I think, was like generating, you know, we had probably like 30,000 phone numbers or something like that by the time we were like a year in.
Would you say that the same concept as far as marketing applies from e-com applies to restaurants? It's about getting the butts in the doors, right? We're getting to get people indoors and butts in the seats. Would you say it's the same concept or it's a little bit different?
I think it's the same. Traditionally, it wasn't seen that way.
Yeah.
I think not necessarily because, I think it was more because the technology just wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
But now like all of the POS companies and like, you know, the merchant processors are starting to take all of the same stuff from e-commerce now and bring it into the restaurant industry. So like email marketing and email automation flows and text message marketing, Facebook ads, Facebook Pixel, all of that stuff is like, you find them inside of apps and stuff now for restaurants.
Right.
So I think it's a huge, I'd also say like we brought on partners that had huge marketing audiences. So like on Instagram and stuff like that, they had very large following. They pushed the concept. So that helped a lot. But I think also what we did prior to opening helped a lot too. You know, doing the pop-ups, which we made no money in. We like all of our pop-ups, we lost money except for the one we did in downtown Riverside, the last pop-up we did. That one was successful in January of 2020. And then we were supposed to do 626 Night Market, which was one of the biggest night markets in SoCal. And it got canceled because of COVID. So at that point, we were like, shoot, you know, what do? We signed the lease already. So I would say if you want to ask me what the number one thing is as far as why this thing's where it's at, is belief.
Wow.
Like, we just truly believed that it was going to work. Like, to the point where when we opened, the day we opened, we probably had a maxed out $13,000 credit card, and if it didn't work, we weren't going to be able to make payroll.
Wow.
Like, that was how we opened.
But you opened and it worked, and it's working now, right?
Oh yeah, we came out the gate, like killing it. Like, but yeah, if we didn't have that, it wouldn't have, like, I don't think if we had the belief in it and just willing to stick through it, because like I said, we signed a lease and we started the thing with $24,000.
That's it?
That's what we like.
The whole restaurant?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we paid for equipment, but that didn't come until like a year and a half later.
Wow.
When we actually had to move into the spot. But when we first decided to sign the lease, it cost us $24,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So it's a story of belief and perseverance, because you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot. I mean, going from 2 years old to now, you've been through a lot, and you've built something that's pretty freaking amazing. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, brother.
Congrats. But then there are people that need that belief. So how did you actually get that belief? Like where did it come from? I mean, it's just pop in your head. Like where did that belief that this can actually work in anything you're doing? All right, where did it come from?
Man, you know, be honest, bro. Like, I think a lot of it has to do with just, like, I've been so. And this is not the answer I don't think anybody else wants to ever give.
Well, that's Harold.
Yeah,
Harold never gets the answer I want to hear.
Like I've lived this life where like I was always written off by everybody.
Yeah.
So like even when I was like making money online, like the whole idea was that I was doing something that like when I was a kid was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you wasting your time?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was always like this thing of, especially after my grandma passed away, it was like, what's Harold doing right now? What's Harold into? Like, you know, why is he acting out? And so, to be honest, like part of it, like this whole building thing is kind of like a shit on everybody else, but also like I need to be seen, if I'm being completely real.
Yeah.
So it probably has a lot to do with my dad, my mom. Like, it's like, if I'm not bringing value to the world, like, am I gonna get love? Yeah. But that's like things I'm just now learning, to be honest. Because like as I go through, I'm like, well, what the heck? Like, why am I doing all of this shit?
Right.
But I mean, outside of that, like, I've just never really had to have like a closed mind. Like I said, like my family, for the most part, at least my grandmother, her siblings, like, they're educated. Yeah. Like, you know, I grew up. I wasn't raised in my grandmother's house. I was raised in my grandmother's brother's house, because my grandmother was divorced around like 10 years before she raised me. Right. So my grandmother's brother was a doctor. So I was being in the house with him, and this dude just has books everywhere. Yeah. He don't read none of them though. Yeah. At least I don't see him read them. But he just had a bunch of books. So like, I was always in this place where like, you know, I could see like how important like knowledge was, and like, and then also getting around the right people. Yeah. You know, like the transition for me into entrepreneurship really came when like getting around Jonathan and like Kevin Williams, like, and then just seeing like, that was the first people I saw that were just like cool, but like had nice cars and had a nice house and stuff like that. And it was just like, oh, okay, well, like, I want this too. And before that, everyone around me was just like, or at least all like the father figures in my house weren't really about anything. Yeah. You know, they all talked about my uncle that was a doctor. They used to talk about him. Yeah. They used to call him Uncle Stanky. Like, that literally was like the name they gave him.
Because he was doing something with his life.
Well, he was kind of just old, and he was mean all the time and stuff. He was thinking. Yeah, he really was stanky, but like, you know, like, but they never had anything good to say about him. Yeah. It wasn't like being a doctor was cool. It's like, who else's family on this block is a doctor? Right. Like, you know, and that's like a huge accomplishment back then, for sure. It's like, you just spent 10 years, not to mention that his dad was, or his dad looks like a slave when you look at his old pictures, you know? Like, they grew up on a farm in Mississippi. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, for him to come out to LA and become a doctor is huge. Yeah. But no one ever saw it. Like, no one ever talked about him like that.
Yeah. That's real. I mean, that's the realest answer that I've gotten thus far. So thanks for being real with that. I mean, that's just how you feel. But in that, now you're starting to help other people who want to scale and have restaurant business, and you're sharing your knowledge now, right? So not just restaurants, but entrepreneurship. Well, first let me ask you this: why did you decide to start helping people now?
I've always wanted. I have a huge heart for teaching.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't think it's that I started. It's just a different widget now. Like something I know how to do.
Yeah.
So, and what happened was people started reaching out to me for help. So from there it was like, why not? You know, this is like the gift that I have. Like I should just teach people, and I get a lot from it.
Right. I answer that.
So,
That's dope. All right. So a little bit of inspiration. So people are sitting at home watching the podcast, listening to the podcast while they're driving, working out, but they need a little bit of inspiration to actually just get their business going, right? So give us a little bit of like, what's like the first few action steps somebody can take right now to actually just get going?
For anyone trying to get into entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Trying to get in, or someone who's there but just need to do better.
Find a mentor.
Money. Say it again?
Find a mentor.
Okay.
Find a mentor. Like I said, the shift for me was when I bought a course.
Yeah.
And like, and you got to do something that hurts.
What do you mean by that?
Like when I bought the course, it hurt.
Because you had to pay for it.
I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
Like I did the payment plan, and even then I couldn't afford that.
Right.
So it was like, but there's something that like gets activated in that. Like I think a lot of people that are like want to be entrepreneurs are just comfortable, and they like sitting in that comfortability. Yeah. So where it's like, is that a word? Like saying that comfortability. I always use that.
It's one now.
It's one now. Like sitting in that, and because they're in that, it doesn't allow. One, God doesn't move.
Yeah.
So, because He's like, well, if you're comfortable, what's the point of me moving?
Right.
And then two, like nothing activates in your brain because your brain has nothing to figure out.
Right.
So like, I've always thrived in just being in very uncomfortable situations.
Right.
And like, that's how I move myself forward is like, once I'm feeling comfortable, take a risk so that now I have to push myself forward.
Yeah.
Or now God can come in and take over where I can't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say like, one, get a mentor, and two, just put yourself in a little like, put your back against the wall a little bit. Yeah. You know?
That actually, I mean, you said that actually worked for me because I was kind of stuck in a certain period of my life and of my entrepreneurial journey, and I had a big fear of, so this podcast came out of like fear, right? Yeah. Fear of not wanting to be in front of a camera, fear of not wanting to talk, but it was like, well, I had to put myself in, I know I wanted it, but I had to put myself in a position where I was uncomfortable in order for it to make it happen. And I think that worked because it's painful to do things you don't want to do, but you know it's to the benefit of you and other people, right? So I had to constantly put myself in uncomfortable positions, like being on camera, talking at our meetups, right? I don't want to sit up and talk, but I know it's uncomfortable. So I'm saying if it's uncomfortable, I need to do it. Yeah. If I'm comfortable, then it's like, you know what, it's not gonna work. But if I'm like, I don't want it, you know, I have to do it. At our last event, Kevin was speaking, and he said, well, I want you to introduce the next speaker, L. I'm like, hell no, I ain't about to do that. And because I was uncomfortable, I'm like, you know what, Anthony, if you feel this way, that means you have to do it. Right. So I did. So that's an amazing point where you have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions to actually get what you want. Yeah. So
makes you take action.
Makes you take action, yeah. And action is a mother of all success. Facts. So, in closing, is there anything that you want to add and talk to the audience about in closing? It could be anything.
Shoot. Follow me on Instagram. Harold I. Walters.
All right. And the next question is how we find you on Instagram. Say it again.
Harold I. Walters.
Okay. And then of course Shootz. What's next for you?
Shoot. All right. So we got Shootz. Obviously, we got 3 locations right now. We're looking to open in 2 more. We already have 2 more that are opening next year. All right.
Okay.
I won't share the locations yet. Say that for later. Yeah. Maybe squeeze 1 more in this year, potentially. Okay. You know, I opened the cookie shop, Sweet G's, with my partner, Angelica. Right. So that's already open in OC.
You should have brought some cookies, bro.
I know, right? I didn't even go to OC. I'll get you some
good cookies.
I got you. We got Buenos Migos, the Latin Asian fusion.
Yeah.
They opened last year in November. Actually have a second location coming for that next year as well.
I'm asking this question. I'm asking you on camera, on audio, so I want you to give your honest opinion. So I was at a restaurant last week, and I had an idea for a concept. If you don't like it, just don't tell me, right? So my kids are mixed, right? My wife's Hispanic, and of course I'm African American. I'm black. I'm like, what about a Hispanic African American soul food fusion, like macaroni and cheese quesadillas? Just how is that? I mean, you think that'll work?
Actually, that was one of the concepts I actually wanted to start a while back.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I think like a African American or soul food Mexican
fried chicken tacos.
Fried chicken taco, something with gumbo. Like,
we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
You guys don't steal my idea back there.
Yeah, that would kill it.
Yeah. All right.
I honestly think we're in the space now where like anything can work.
Yeah.
Like, it's all about branding and just having good food. Like,
right.
You know, the idea of like, you know, whether or not people are gonna like this food or if it's weird.
Right.
Or if it's like, why is this person starting it and stuff like none of that stuff matters. Especially when you look back at like,
yeah,
you know, Ono's Hawaiian is started by a Chinese American.
Was it really?
Yeah, he's like a Chinese dude from like LA or something like that.
Oh, wow.
He might not even be from America. He might be from China. He might have been from China and then moved to LA. I just know he's Chinese.
Yeah.
He's on Hawaiian. You know, I think the guy that founded Taco Bell's white. Like,
probably so.
You know what I mean? So like, anybody can do anything nowadays.
I mean, you're right,
you know?
because I mean, if you look at the owners of BET, they're not white.
Yeah,
they're not black. They're white.
Yeah.
So, but it's like,
it's managed by black people.
Exactly. That's it. So it all works. You know, that's a common phrase in our circle, is that it all works, right? It's just like you're getting down to it, taking action, and doing it. So, thank you for coming by.
One last thing.
Go ahead.
Follow at Breezy Experience. That's the brunch spot we're opening.
Okay.
This month.
You're just moving.
Yeah.
You just
San Juan
moving.
Capistrano. That one's excited about.
Okay.
Excited about.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. I truly appreciate you being here, and I mean, you brought so much value. So thank you again, and hope to have you back soon.
Appreciate it, brother.
Cool.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.